Now let's look at contains. We will also replicate the examples that we've seen in theory. So let's start with the first one. Okay, so let's see if our collection contains the number 3. So var contains 3 equals collections dot simple collection dot contains number 3. Okay, and now let's output the result of this. Okay, so contains simple example 1, and let's see if our collection contains 3. So the expected result that we think we should get is true. Why? Because our collection contains 3. Okay, let's see this in action. Okay, let's run this, and as you can see, we have the result true. Okay, which is what we were expecting. Now let's see if our collection contains 10, which, as we know, doesn't. Okay, now contains 10. Okay, collection contains 10. Simple example 2, and let's see here contains 10. Okay, now as we've seen, we are expecting this to return false. Let's see what we get. And as you can see, we return false. Okay, which is what we were expecting. Okay, because 10 is not in the collection. Okay, now this was the example with the simple collection. Now let's see an example with a complex collection. Okay, now if we take a look at our complex collection, we have 4 people. Okay, and we will see, for example, if John exists, because it clearly is here. Okay, now let me see this. Var John exists. Okay, well, collections dot complex collection dot contains. Okay, and let's put here the object of John. Okay, let's even copy paste this. Okay, and let's do it like this. Okay, so we are expecting this to be true because I have this object on my collection, but the fact is that comparison with objects does not work by default, because we are using classes. Okay, does not work by default by just looking at the content of the object. It looks at references. So this, although we instinctively think this will return true, in reality this will return false. Okay, let's see this in practice. Okay, so console write line contains complex example 1. Okay, John exists. Okay, let's see that indeed this returns true. This returns false and not true. Okay, because by default the comparison is done by reference and not by content, as I told you before. Okay, and as you can see, it returns false and not true, even though I just copy pasted the object. Okay. And now you might say to yourself, say, but I want this to return true because this person actually exists. Okay, now there are 2 ways of solving this issue. Okay, and you will see this problem whenever there's comparisons involved in LINQ and anywhere else in reality. You always can solve this in 2 ways. Either you somehow change the equals method and the hash code method in the object itself, or you create some kind of comparer. Okay, okay, well, I'll do the easiest one for me, which is to go inside the person class, because we control this class, and change or override the equals method. Okay, and we are going to consider that the person are the same if they have the same name and age. Okay, if I have the same name and age, therefore I'm the same person. Okay, let's first start by overriding the equals method. Okay, so override equals, okay. Let's first start by casting this object that we are comparing to our root object, let's say, to a person object, okay. So if object is person, okay, if I can do this cast, they are the same object if my name equals this person name and the age equals this person's age. Okay, person dot age. Okay. If this is not true, then they are not the same. So I'll return false. Okay. Another thing that we need to override is the get hash code method. Okay. And we need to provide to it the elements, the properties that we want to include on the hash code, which in this case will be the properties that we are considering to be useful when comparing the two objects to see if they are equal or not. Okay, and a simple way to do it is by using the hash code dot combine, and here you pass name and age, which are the properties that you indeed want to use for the comparison. Okay. Now, having done this, you have a clear way of combining or comparing, in this case, objects, okay? Now, this in contains should return true. Why? Because I have in my list someone that has the name John and has the age of 25, okay? Now, if we run this, we can see that it returns true, whereas before we were returning false, okay? And so this is a common practice that you will see often in collections that require you to compare objects. You always need to pass some kind of comparison or comparer in order for things to properly compare, okay? In this case, we just overrode the equals and get hash code methods, but you could also create some kind of external comparer, okay? And this you will see not only on contains but also in other LINQ operators, okay? In other LINQ operators that we will see soon, we will also need to create some kind of comparison mechanism, okay? And now this is contains, okay? And soon we will see other LINQ operators.